Okay, today's object of derision for the Vikings and the fans, Anthony Barr. There's a report out there that you know Barr is very much against any sort of restructuring of his contract. Kind of it's kind of the same thing that was put out there about Cousins a few days ago, but you know it's the same thing. Like it's the same kind of overall thing with Barr. Um, saying he's completely against any sort of restructuring. Well, no, he's not. Like I don't even need to ask. I don't even need to. We don't even need to ask him personally. Of course, he'd be up for a restructure, depending on what the restructuring is. Um, you know, like he's overpaid. I will say he's overpaid. He's overpaid for what he brings. He's still a really good player. Um, he's been talked about as a cap cut, possibly. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I never do, but you'd have a bunch of dead cap money, but you'd also save a fair amount. So he's been talked about as a very possible cap cut coming up. And so if he hit the open market now, you know, he's not going to get like an unbelievable contract. He probably wouldn't get more. He probably wouldn't get more on the open market than what he would get with a restructure with the Vikings, because we know Zimmer loves the guy, and we know Barr. Unless something miraculous has changed, we know Barr loves playing here because he basically had the pen about to sign on the dotted line with the Jets, and then he backed out of the Jets deal and came back here. So he obviously likes to play here, likes to play for Zimmer. You know, I don't know what would have happened in the last couple years now to make him just desperately want to get out and hate the organization and maybe hate Zimmer. And it's possible. I mean, we never know behind the scenes. I mean, obviously, he missed what 14 and a half games this past year, and amongst other players, we missed him, and I certainly would want him back here, especially since Eric Wilson's probably gone. Are you gonna want to replace two linebackers? You don't really have a replacement lined up unless you draft somebody. And I suppose if Barr and Wilson left, then linebacker becomes much more of a need. Maybe they would have somebody out there to bring in, but you know this you see these headlines that he's anti restructure any restructuring. It's just not true because it's just it'd be illogical. Like now he might not want to take a giant pay cut, and I don't know if they would even ask him to take a giant pay cut. It would probably be some sort of um, extension of the deal. I don't know the numbers, but you know, usually that's kind of how they do it. We'll give you a little less money for this year, but we'll give you an extra year, and so forth. Um, and again, like it's very similar to the Cousins idea, where supposedly Cousins is anti-restructuring. No player is anti-restructuring automatically. They might be anti-pay cut. I mean, Cal Rudolph came out a while back and said, I ain't taking a pay cut. And of course, that's why Kyle Rudolph will be a former Viking very soon. Now, if Barr came out and said that, then there would be probably more to it. Um, and I don't know what their plans are. Maybe their plans are to cut him. I mean, I think it's more important to build up the front four than to have like a couple really good linebackers. Because I mean, you don't necessarily want to hang all the responsibility on Eric Kendricks, but we've seen Eric Kendricks is essentially worth two linebacker spots, maybe 3, all on his own. But you don't want to overburden a guy like that. But I don't know what their plans are with him. I know Zimmer likes him because you know of everything that we've seen and heard over the years. He's just he's a big Barr guy, and Barr doesn't you know a lot of people in the fan base don't like Barr because they want him to be Ray Lewis, and he's not Ray Lewis. He's not that level of linebacker, that level of dominant player, but he is a very good player, and he does a lot of the stuff that doesn't really show up in the stat sheet all the time. And it would be a loss for the team to lose him. I mean, we lost him last year essentially, but now if we were to lose him for good, that would be a big loss. That would be just one more hole we got to plug. But and I think they know that, and I think that's why they're not gonna just, I mean, they're not gonna just cut him outright. They're gonna try to do a restructure, and maybe it won't be something that he's interested in or his agent is interested in, or and then maybe he will be cut. I don't know. I'm not sure what the deadline is. They would have to cut him maybe for cap purposes. It's all very complicated stuff. But yeah, this idea that he's anti-restructuring, no. It's I don't know why that's the thing now, to just say players are opposed to restructuring, because again, going back to the Cousins part, he didn't fucking say that he wasn't. He didn't say that, and I haven't seen any quotes directly from Barr that says, I'm not going to restructure. And of course, you wouldn't say that because, again, it's bad business, because that's it's all negotiation. You're going to give up your leverage if you say, well, sure I'll restructure, or sure I won't restructure, whichever way. You lose your leverage in that case. But I think when it all comes down to it, I think there will probably be some sort of restructuring with Barr to keep him around a little longer. He hasn't had a long injury history. He got hurt this past year. I forget what the injury was. But he's still young enough that he's got years ahead of him. And again, you don't have a replacement, and you're going to probably have to replace 2 linebackers if you get rid of Barr. And I don't think that would mean we're going to get rid of Barr and keep Wilson. I think Wilson's gone. I don't see him being a guy that you're going to invest a huge sum of money in. But so yeah, I think Barr stays on a restructured deal. It'll be one of those things that kind of works out pretty well for both sides. You'll keep one of your marquee defensive players in the fold, and give him a little more money down the line, and you're all set. But and Zimmer gets to keep his guy, and Barr gets to stay here because he obviously likes it here, because otherwise he'd be a New York Jet right now. So yeah, Barr stays. Kind of I hate to say fake news, but man, there's some fake news out there with certain Viking players these days. Let's get to free agency. Let's get this stuff settled.